Minister, the debate focuses, as you said, on our binding requirements to meet climate reduction targets under EU legislation and compliance agreements. And the framework that you referenced is the second commitment period of the Kyoto Protocol, covering a period from 2013 to 2020. So essentially the last 9 years, we could say at this stage, I suppose, to come to present day. And you've outlined that the framework at EU level provides for various compliance options beyond us making direct emission reductions, including the partaking of the trade of annual emissions unit. So, in other words, a way for us to buy our way out of missing our targets on climate reduction. You said that Ireland has, through negotiation with other member states, entered into an agreement to purchase climate credits from Slovakia, which will help us to meet our obligations under the present EU sharing decision. And the cost of that initiative is €2.9 million. But I was taken, Minister, by the comment that you made, essentially saying that by 2030, were we to continue in such vein, that the costs would be significantly higher, and I'm sure there would be punitive damages as well being levied on Ireland for failure to meet our climate reduction targets. And just to reiterate, the reduction target that you referenced is a 42% reduction relative to 2005 up to 2030. So not too far off a 50% reduction, you could say, or half. And how are we to meet these ongoing reductions? And actually, how is climate reduction measured? I think I brought up in the House before, Minister, the issue of climate calculators, and obviously the EU has a climate calculator that we're all working to. There are other people who dispute how it's measured. And again, I'd like to bring up the issue of carbon sequestration, and particularly in our woodlands and our hedgerows. When, Minister, are we going to get a landscape? And maybe you might come back to me at some point, Minister, in writing to that. When are we going to get a landscape that measures the sequestration that we are doing in Ireland? In other words, our hedgerows, our pasture land, our woodlands. And how is that taken into the present analysis by Europe of our actual carbon and our climate emissions? And the other thing, Minister, I think is referenced, and I've mentioned this in the House to you before, is the very, very slow pace of our present renewables development. And we have recently, as you know, passed legislation now to allow planning permission to be set aside, particularly for farm buildings, to put up solar units. And yet it appears that the grant aid for that is hard to understand. People are having difficulty in trying to understand what the schemes are, how they access them, what the level of support is, what the feed-in tariff should be. And we need to start getting about this, Minister. We're here and we're talking about reducing our climate burden. We can't do it until we start generating our own energy, our clean energy. And by the same token, we have the situation around our coasts. We have yet to implement MARA, the new regulatory authority for our oceans, for our maritime areas. And from what I understand, that is not going to be done before the end of the year, and yet we are entering into agreements with people who are looking at wind farm surveys, giving them licences to survey off our coast. And Minister, I also mentioned previously in this House the rate of community contribution that's being proposed under these wind farm projects that you're going to licence through your department. And to all intents and purposes, as I said, for one of the largest wind farms that's being proposed off the south coast, the total community dividend appears to be between 15 and 18 million euro for a licence period that's going to run to 25 years. And I don't see how that stacks up in any way as trying to either give support to local communities or trying to encourage them to be looking at wind-developed pylons out on their ocean frontage. And in Scotland, there was a very robust community dividend policy, a community contribution, if you like, where people could actually invest. And I think we need to do that, Minister. And we should come ahead and publish exactly what is in the proposed contracts that you're talking about awarding in the future, and let people see the full analysis of what is going to be on offer in terms of Ireland's wind-generated sector of the economy, because we keep on saying that this is, the game changer for Ireland. We're going to have so much wind, but I hate to tell you, every other European country at the moment that has access to oceans is looking at offshore wind in a big, big way. And it raises the question, if we are coming late to the party, who is going to be buying the excess energy that we are going to be producing, Minister? That's a serious question. What income is going to be available to Ireland from it, and what offset to our climate reduction targets is going to be offered by that?